Recording.
George, can we do a quick steering committee meeting afterwards?
Sure.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Start this at the beginning. Start at the beginning. There we go. Okay. Morning, everybody. We have the April meeting. Beautiful weather out today, unlike yesterday. I don't know how it is down your way. It's nice sun today. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We have interesting stuff on the plate today. I hope everybody enjoys it. Going to work with on some tips and tricks that I like using and show you how to set them up and what they're good for. And then if anybody else has some that they want to use, we want to talk about, please feel free to jump in. Our steering committee. I didn't see. Did Matt pop in? I didn't see him.
I'm here.
Oh, hey Matt, how you doing? You're so quiet this morning.
Yeah, a little sleepy.
So our steering committee, basically, our job is to try to get these meetings to have the information that the members want. So if you have some desire to hear about some technology, some service, some anything, let one of us know. We'll definitely try to get that on the books to be on a future meeting. If you have complaints, problems, let us know. Give compliments, let us know. We like hearing compliments. So please, everybody give a wave to Matt this morning. David Day.
Good morning.
Terry Morris.
Morning.
Ed Sheeran. I didn't see Ed.
Good morning.
There he is. Gian Sparks.
Hi.
I am George Wagner. And Bob Workerson. Bob, everybody's here this morning. Okay. What we're going to deal with today is some tips and tricks that I like using with text replacement or replacement. I misspelled it there. So I got to fix that real quick.
There we go.
Signs unknown callers, which many of you have probably heard me talk about. To display text size, both in iOS and Mac, can be very useful. The zoom option, magnify, some accessibility stuff. Okay. We'll start with text replacement. I use text replacement very heavily. It is something that is available both on the iOS and the Mac. The one thing it does not do right now is synchronize your replacements, which I think would be very handy. It allows you to use short phrases or abbreviations to automatically enter longer text. It's useful for saving time, ensures information is entered correctly. I have a couple of long email addresses that I will use it for. That way, I don't have to worry about fat fingers like replacement earlier. What you got in settings on iOS or system preferences or now system settings in more recent computers, you want to go into general on the iOS and then keyboard on system preferences, and then in general you'll see there's also a keyboard option. Okay, and then that will take you into text replacement. Now, what you'll see there is the on the left is the abbreviation or shortcut. On the right is the text that it puts in there. I tend to keep my abbreviations as short as possible, but you want to make sure that you don't have anything that you're going to actually type in a word, because if you do, all of a sudden it may replace that in the middle of your word with the phrase that you want. So you see what I use a lot at the top there, ADF, and that's my address fault. ADST is address street address, which is just the street. I use that when doing that forms online, or if somebody's needs my address, I can just pop it in there, and it just puts all the information in there very quick, very easy. I have some email addresses, and I'll show you here a little example here. And you see it uses the
Cool.
predictive typing and replacement to give you the prompts to show you what it's going to put in there. If you don't want it, you can hit the X and cancel it, the replacement, so that it puts in just what you typed in. But I find that
Hey.
very, very useful because you can do that basically anywhere you have a cursor, you can use these shortcuts. Move back real quick to this screen. Oops. When you get into the text replacement, you see at the bottom on the Mac side, there's a plus and a minus, and on the iOS, there's a plus at the very top. What that will let you do is create a new one, and you'll get two spots, one for the abbreviation, one for the text you want to put in there. What I do recommend is if it's a long piece of text, to do the text outside of this, copy it and paste it in there, because it doesn't really, as you can see, it doesn't really show a lot of the text. And if you're typing it and you want to make sure there's no errors in it, it's hard to edit it. But once it's in there, it's very useful. Okay. Silence unknown callers. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, what this lets you do is it lets you take any call that's coming in that you don't have in your contact and you did not make a call to, and send it directly to voicemail. Doesn't block it, so if it is a legitimate call, you'll get a voicemail. You'll return the call, everything's good. From a business standpoint, you need to have, I need to have all my calls available to me, because a lot of people will call me, they'll get my number somewhere, and then I have my contact, and I never called them. So what'll happen is it'll go to voicemail, I'll get the voicemail, I'll call them back. And they're actually very happy because I call them back very quickly. It makes me actually look good because I return the call so quickly. But more importantly, I get a lot of either no voicemail because it was spam, or a voicemail that has like the end of an automated message on it, so I know it was spam as well. And so I don't have to deal with those. It saves me a lot of time, a lot of frustration. So in the settings on the phone, sorry, in the settings on iOS, you go into settings, choose phone. You see silent unknown callers. Turn that on, and from that point on, it will go straight to voicemail. Now, if you called the number, let's say you calling business and you left a message, the fact that you called them will allow the return call to come through. Okay. So if you called them, or if they're in your contacts, it will come through. You play with that one. I find that to be very, very useful. Now the display text size. Oops. Back. Display text size lets you adjust the defaults for your text in apps across the iOS device. You can choose whether the text is bold, you can choose the size of the text, you can choose whether you show the buttons. A lot of the buttons are just the words. With the display buttons on, you'll actually see a button around the word. You can see exactly where you click or tap. And then you put labels, which basically label certain pieces of information for you. The others, the transparency and the increased contrast are for visibility issues. Help you reduce transparency will reduce the demand on the device. Like older devices, it will be a little faster with the transparency turned off. Okay. You also have some options in the Mac, not quite as flexible, but what you can do is in the display settings, if you choose scaled, you can choose a resolution that's lower than the maximum resolution of your monitor. What that does is it basically increases the size of the image. So basically, if you have, as you see here, 1920 by 1080, you reduce it to the 1800 by 900. What it does is basically take that same smaller image in the same physical size. So it's like blowing up a photograph a little bit. You lose a little bit of workspace, but it increases the size of everything by a small percentage. And you can see you can go even lower resolutions, which will basically make things a little bit bigger. You want to find a balance. If the default size is big enough for you and readable enough for you, that's always the clearest. That is the native size. And the flat panel displays that all the monitors are using nowadays are pretty fixed on that side. Anything else, it has to do with software interpolation, and it's not quite as crisp. It's still nice, but it's not quite as crisp. So you generally want to use the maximum resolution if you can. Zoom. The zoom option in the iOS is one of my favorites. A lot of times I'll have everything inside. I like a little web page, and it's something that's just not quite easy to read. So with the zoom enabled, you basically double tap the screen with 3 fingers, and that toggles between the normal view and the zoomed view. Now, to determine how much of a zoom view there is, if you double tap with 3 fingers, don't release, leave the fingers on the screen and slide, you can adjust how much zoom there is. Once you get to the level you want, you pick the fingers up, and then you can double tap, toggle that on or off. What I usually do is I have a zoom probably like most of the time about 150. Sometimes it's just text that's a little too small in a picture or something. I just do that, just makes it a little bit bigger. If you need more than that, you just double tap slide and you zoom up to, I think 5 times is what I have set the maximum at. I didn't want to get too extravagant. And so here's an example. Double tap, and then double tap and hold. You can see adjust the level of zoom. And once you get the zoom, just double tap to take back to normal. A magnify also needs to be enabled. Once it's enabled, it turns the camera into a little magnifier. If you triple click the side button or the home button on the earlier models on the front, it will turn the magnifier on. Once it's on, you'll have some on-screen controls that will give you a variety of options. So here, the zoom level control, brightness, contrast, filters, which I'll talk about in a second, are really handy. The light, some settings for the app, and then the image lock button in the center there, and then the huge save images. You basically, any image you freeze, you can save that as a graphic, go back to it. So if you have multiple things you want to do, you don't have to finish one before you get to the rest. What you've got, so you see the image I've got there. If I grab that slider and I slide it back and forth, I can zoom in and out of that picture after I've frozen it. And the way you lock the image is that big button in the center and the bottom. You tap that, it locks the image that's on the screen, which is great. If you've ever had a meal that you're going to make, and then you've got the instructions on the back, and you want to throw away the package, so you basically use the magnifier, you click on the image on the back, and then you can zoom in if you have trouble reading, or look at one section of the ingredients, whatever. You can zoom in and out on after you've locked the image and thrown the package away. Anybody who does any tech work, if you've ever been down on the floor behind the computer trying to look at a serial number, they love to choose silver on a black background, which is very hard to read, generally very small. So once you capture the image, you can hit filters, and you can choose different filters, red filters, black filters, and certain ones will make those colors pop much better, make it much easier to read. So you play with those and adjust the filter to get the best clarity. The little sun right there is your brightness, so you can brighten and dim it as necessary. The contrast will bring everything a little crisper or take a little less crisp. And then on the right there, my favorite one is the light. Basically, when you're behind those computers, you need that light. It uses the flash on the camera as a light, just like the flashlight app. But this is one of my favorite and probably my most used feature. Accessibility has a lot of very useful things that were designed for people with disabilities, but they're also very useful for just everybody. And if you go through them, just take a little time when you have a moment, go into accessibility and look at some of the options. The audio options, video options, keyboard, mouse options, and a whole bunch of things that can really help you. For example, if the mouse for some reason stops working, you can actually enable the keyboard, the keyboard to act as a cursor movement, right, left, up, down, and then select button. That's saved me a bunch of times when my mouse stopped working. I can basically use that to move the mouse around and get to what I need to get the mouse to work. But play around with them. You'll see this. You have options where it can read things to you on screen. You can have it. There's some keyboard shortcuts. There's a whole slew of really useful things. Play around with them. Now, on the iOS, they added a really cool feature that I actually more recently found. It's the per app settings. What that means, you've got your default, for example, for the display text, but you may find that in what I found is in Maps, having the bold and the larger font actually was too big. It was causing things to be hard to read, hard to see. So I went in here and I put the maps using just the normal unbolded text, and I reduced the size a little bit. Found it to be much easier to read. And you play with those. A lot of times you'll have the different things in each app that just it's not quite right in that app, but it's right for everything else. You don't want to change it across the board. This is where you can do that. You can go in and change a whole slew of different settings on an app by app basis to make those apps more useful, easy to adjust. All right, and those are my tips and tricks that I like to use. Anybody else have some tips that they enjoy?
Yeah, I'd like to throw one out that I learned the other day that I wish I had learned 20 years ago when I was flying. But if you are a traveler and you do a lot of airport and flight connections, there's a really neat thing I just learned on iOS on your phone. If you're getting ready to start a trip, you open iMessages and simply type in the airport or the flight number along with the regular air abbreviation for the airline. For example, American is AA, Delta is DL. So you put down AA 4432. That's all you type in. And iOS goes out and it finds all the current information related to the flight and basically reports it and then updates it until you finish taking that segment of the trip. For example, it'll tell you if you're in the air, you type in the flight number for your next connection, and it'll show you what gate it's going to be, what airport it's at, if there's any delays, how many passengers. It's an incredible amount of information. And then once again, all you do is type it in once. And until you finish your itinerary, you'll get updates regularly on the flight. What a neat thing to have at some of these huge airports, where you got to change. Before you hit the ground, you don't have to stop and crane your neck to find a screen to look at and look at all the numbers. It's all right there for you. So anyway, it's something that I will use on my next flight, which may be next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw the video for that. That is really cool.
It really is.
It's also you can send it, you can text it to whoever's going to pick you up at the airport, so they know, what
That's right.
status. And it's automatic. It's one of those data recognizing features that Apple has for like email addresses and physical addresses and phone numbers. If you have the flight number with the airline abbreviation in there, that is basically something that it understands and immediately creates a link to the live data. So it's really, really cool. Anybody else have some tricks they like to use?
This is Ken. I use a couple of them on my computer. I don't do much on my phone or my iPad, but I use Command plus and Command minus for zooming. If I'm looking at an email and somebody must be using 2-point fonts or something like that, I mean, something really small, I just hit Command plus 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 until it gets large enough for me to see on the screen without going in. And I guess you can probably get it up on your screen as well, but that's so quick and easy to do. And also sometimes when I'm typing, it's too small for me to see. These old eyes don't do like they used to. And I'll just hit the Command plus plus and gives me a bigger font of type. And then I start typing and, everything works great. So that's my one major shortcut. The other shortcut that I use is the Option key for lots of things on the keyboard. You hit that Option and you come up with the pound sign, you come up with the euro sign, you come up with a trademark, copyright, and I use it also, there's actually 3 different lengths of dashes. There's a hyphen, there's a true dash, and then in between, I don't know what it's called, but somebody knows. And you get to that by hitting Command dash, and you get that middle size one, which I use an awful lot in the research that I'm doing. So those are my 2 shortcuts.
There's a option in the system settings. It's on the keyboard where you can show the input options. And once you have that, you have a menu at the top that has a little flag that you're using the US keyboard. And if you click on that, you'll see keyboard viewer. You turn that on, it shows you a keyboard on screen. And if you hold the Option key down, you'll see all the different things that the Option key does on the different letters.
Okay, now wait a minute. I'm intrigued. Where is that?
Here, let me get out of here.
Settings, keyboards. Oh,
make sure I'm telling the right thing here. Let's see. Yeah, if you go into system settings, go to keyboard.
Yep, I'm there.
Show keyboard and emoji viewers in menu bar.
Wait a minute. Whoa. I don't.
It might be you guys the newer version of operating system. I think they moved it elsewhere. If you do a search for show keyboard.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, they've got keyboard shortcuts, but guess that's not all right. Show keyboard.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'd have to spell it right, don't I? K-E-Y. Okay. Yeah, here it is. It's in keyboard. Show keyboard and emoji viewer in menu bar. Okay. Great. Show. I don't.
You should now have an added menu on the right side. It's going to have a little square with look like a little window icon.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, let me do this.
Keyboard, and I'm in the keyboard thing. I got keyboard repeat, delay, press function key to do
No,
nothing.
what, once you've turned the option on, you're gonna see a menu. Can you see it on my screen here? I think it might also be a flag icon on the newer one, but it should be in the menu on the top right here. You should see a new menu.
Okay, hang on. I see you got it. Something's different. Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
I'm running an older version of the operating system.
Yeah, well, see to
Ken,
get
Ken, if you go to system settings on your Mac and you click on the keyboard in the left column,
yeah,
then down slightly where it says text input, it says input sources.
yeah.
Click the edit button,
Ah, okay.
and then the top one, show input menu in menu bar. Make sure that's turned on.
It is.
When you turn that on, you'll get that little icon that George was just showing you on his screen. And when you click on that icon in your menu bar, you can click the keyboard viewer.
Okay,
And
well,
then when
hang
you
on.
hold the option key down, it shows you all the symbols.
Okay, so wait a minute. Hold option key. And which one was the? What
So
was the-
in your look on George's screen, George, point out again that square in the menu bar. See it next to his Wi-Fi icon?
I do.
Look for that on your screen.
I don't have it up there.
Go back to your system settings.
Over there.
Okay. And tap again, click on keyboard,
Got it.
go to input sources under the text input
Yeah, I'm
and
there.
click edit and make sure that top show input menu in menu bar is turned on.
It's turned on.
Okay.
Then
Do me a favor,
click.
turn it off. Look at your menu
Okay, let me
bar,
turn it
right, and
off.
then turn it on and see
All
see
right,
what.
and then turn it back on. Okay, I turned it off, turn it back on. And I'm looking for that thing in my menu bar at the top. Oh, got it now. Thank
Okay.
you.
So you can click done in the window for your system settings. And then when you click on that icon, then you can
Yeah.
choose show keyboard viewer.
Or show emoji and symbols.
But
Right.
do show keyboard viewer. And then when you see the little keyboard, press your option key and it shows you all the symbols.
Also will show you
Oh, wonderful.
land,
Yes.
shift, and now you'll notice some of those are highlighted.
Yeah.
They won't do anything by themselves. You hit that key, nothing happens until you hit another key that accent is acceptable for. So like an O, a U, an E. That's how you get the tilde, the reverse accent, the forward accent, the umlaut.
Well, the way I get that, and I do that a fair amount because I'm typing in foreign languages, I just hold the E key down or the
Yeah.
O key, and then about 6 options will pop up
Yeah.
after about a half a second, and then I
Yeah.
either just pick one or type like 4, and that gives me the umlaut.
Yeah, they did that more recently, which was great. I love that option. But yeah, that's also the old fashioned way. You had to hit option, like option U, and then O gave you the umlauted O, and option N gave you the tilde, and so you basically that's how you had to do it back in the old days. But yeah, what they realize is that people don't use the repeat, hold down the button to repeat letters very often. And usually they don't need a whole bunch of them. So hitting it 3 or 4 times is not a big deal. So they took the repeat function and replaced it with the options for that letter. It was very smart move on their part because that's much more useful.
Thank you.
But yeah, as Ken also noted, that is also how you can on the Mac insert emojis and symbols. You can see all the emojis, arrows, bullets, currencies, a whole slew of things. And all you have to do is just take this and just drag it right. We would double click it or drag it where you want to put it, where the cursor is. Puts it right in there.
Well, I'm a big believer in using keyboard shortcuts. And because 90% or 95% of my work is on a computer, it's easy to do. I have no clue how to do it on an iPhone or an iPad, but
right. Well, that's why with the emojis on the iPhones and iPads, everyone's using emojis on computers. People aren't familiar with how to do that. And this is right here will give you access to all those emojis and special characters. You can bring that up. So if you leave this up all the time, anytime you need to use the emojis, just bring up the emoji window, insert what you want, and then close the window.
thank you.
George, I'd like to mention another tip that I use. Siri has gotten greatly improved over the last couple of releases. I mean, they haven't said much about it. I think they're going to say a lot more about it at WWDC next month. But they are beginning to integrate their AI solution with Siri. And I believe they've been doing that in baby steps because now, even with iOS 17.4, I can get on there and in a grocery list, for example, which Pam and I use that all the time. I'm in a shared list, and I've got it set up where if I'm in the grocery store buying stuff and she's adding things, it tells me so I don't walk out of the store thinking I'm done and then have to turn around and go back. Anyway, one of the things they've added to Siri is the ability to add more than one thing at a time. In other words, I can say, "Hey Siri," and I got to be careful, add such and such to my grocery list, and such, and it'll add both things separately to my grocery list. The other thing I've also used a lot, especially when I get into a situation where I can't get some part of software or firmware to work, and I want to reboot the whole machine, and I'm in an active state of frustration, a lot of times I don't do what I should do, and I wind up trying to find a button combination on my iPad versus my iPhone versus Pam's iPad, and the button configurations to reboot have different for those iPads. But now I can say to Siri, restart my iPad, and by golly, she'll do it. So it's great. Hang on. Siri is going to blow our minds in about a year.
Yeah, the machine learning has actually been very useful also with mapping. If you go someplace on a regular basis, it picks that up, and when you go into maps, it says, "Oh, is this where you want to go?" And it's like, damn.
Yeah. Well, and then dodging traffic jams. I mean, we make the same trip to the beach every once in a while, and it'll tell you it should take this exit, and it'll save you X number of minutes. And by golly, it does it.
And trust me, you want to do that. I was coming up 26. I was coming up 26, and Siri told me to get off, and it's like, why? It's not any faster to go 25 than it's 26. So I didn't go. Next exit says get off this exit. And I didn't go. Third time said get off this exit. I said, why? As soon as I passed the exit, I knew why. All I saw were red brake lights.
Red for miles.
Yeah, I was stuck for like an hour in traffic. So if I had listened, I would have gotten home.
That's what,
guys, you gotta listen to those women.
that's why I like Waze rather than Google for traffic like that.
Yeah.
And back and forth to New Hampshire, Waze has taken me on the darndest funny little loops, but each time it goes around problems on I-81. And what I am interested in is, in particular, other people don't seem to be using it. So I'm off by myself when I'm surprised that it works as well. And there was an article in the New York Times comparing the two. And by far, Waze is owned by Google anyway,
Yeah.
but they
And
have
that's what
decided.
Apple introduced a lot of those same features in theirs because they're very useful. The traffic information and the crowdsourcing, where you can report an accident, you can report a hazard in the road, you can report a policeman, and that information is then available to other people.
Yeah, well, Waze is getting to the point now where it's too specific. Things like pothole ahead. Well, where?
Where is
Um,
there not?
So
pothole?
somebody has put it that they have it easy to put in pothole, but unless you look for how many miles ahead it is, you still don't know what part of the road is it the left lane or the right lane.
Wow, yeah.
So
It's better than hitting the pothole, having you say that was a pothole.
well, okay, but anyway, I'm surprised at the accuracy of Waze in picking up these tie-ups because. Particularly in 26, George, particularly, I don't know where all the traffic comes from on Friday afternoons. But I get caught in it coming home from Asheville to down here to
Yeah.
Etowah. And I got about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got caught in where the traffic just stopped for about a half an hour. And there I was in one of the construction zones, absolutely stuck. And I had failed to look at Waze.
I had a similar situation coming down to Hendersonville for volleyball. There was an accident, but it happened too late for me to get off in any exit. There's that whole stretch where there's like 5 miles with no exits, and
That's
then
right.
construction, and that's where I was. I got stuck for 2 hours. It was
Well,
rough.
I was delayed by about 2 hours. I had to get off finally at the outlet stores, and then I had to go down to the Parkway, and then I had to go way over to 25 and come home, US 25 and come home that way. It delayed me for about 2 hours.
I actually turned my car off. That's how bad it was. I just parked.
Oh, you
Hey,
do more.
Bill, does Waze work with CarPlay so that it comes up on the
Yes.
screen on your? Okay.
Oh, indeed it does. Yeah. I mean, I have a Subaru with CarPlay, and I've gotten to the point, particularly with these uh, late returns from Asheville, of checking to see which way I should come home. And particularly with the new factory on what is it coming through Avery Creek there. It's just it used to be terrible. Now it's terrible squared. Um, they put a new factory in there along the river and with a bridge over to it, and by God, you just can't get through there. One of my friends works there. They're making parts for, I think, jet engines, something like that. Pratt and Whitney,
Mhm.
something like that.
I don't know if I said this last month or not. There was a story, a vast, basically was ordered by court to stop selling private information that they've gleaned from the privacy apps they sell, which basically was one of those triggers for me to never use their product again. Because whether or not they aren't doing it anymore, the fact that a court had to tell them to stop doing it kind of makes me just not real trustworthy of them.
George, what's the name of the company?
Avast,
Oh,
AVAST.
okay.
They do malware and virus protection, so it's you really got to have trust for that company doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I used to use them.
And there's
I
plenty of
have,
other alternatives that are good. Malwarebytes, AVG, Sophos.
So what kind of information were they selling?
They didn't weren't specific, but they said personal private information they gotten from the privacy apps. I don't know if they got it from their virus and malware checker or not, but it doesn't matter to me. Once a company crosses that line, it's very hard to get back that trust.
You know, another one that is really a nasty company. It's the one for pharmacy. It's something like Pharmacy RX, and they give you a card.
Good
and
RX.
What? Good
Good
RX.
RX.
Good RX.
Yeah.
You know why Good RX is in business? What they do is they sell the information about you to insurance companies. As an example, in my particular case, I have quite a bit of neck pain. And so I get lidocaine patches, and they're really very expensive. They're $250 and they're not covered by my insurance company. But if I go through Good RX, I get them for $75. Okay, I've taken, but the point is that now um, Good RX is selling that information to would-be insurance companies. So, for instance, if I'm in a accident or something like that, and I claim about that I have a neck ache or something of that sort, they're going to say, "Well, Mr. Hatt ordered all this stuff back a couple of years ago, so his ailments can't be part of this insurance settlement." Anyway, New York Times definitely argues against using Good RX if it's all possible because they're just selling the information.
Well, they also had an article on how the automobile companies collect information through their electronic systems that we all use. They actually, that these things they sell where you can plug them in and read the diagnostic reports of your car on your phone. Well, that same source of information then is being sent to, for example, who is the legal firm that for years has captured information for attorneys. Anyway, they have that company then reports all this information about how many times you touch the brake, how fast your acceleration is, all these things about your driving habits get captured automatically. You're never asked for permission to do it. You're never given information about it. And for example, the story in the Times was about a woman who had a Mercedes Benz, and she called Mercedes and said, "This is my car, and you're giving out information about my car, and I haven't been asked about it." They said, "We're sorry, we just automatically do that." And this is something that every insurance company can get to. LexisNexis is who I was trying to think of. Captures this information. That's a huge company. It's been around for 40 or 50 years. And all they do is capture information and resell it. So this is happening to everybody that has a relatively new automobile.
Right.
And that's
can't
my solution. My solution is my vehicles are 20 plus years old.
Yeah, well, I had to read about it.
My daughter has a Nissan Versa Note that has a crank window and manual lock, so I think she's safe.
Ah, cool.
I will also mention that 23andMe apparently has been found out to be giving out information about their results, which I suspected would be was always one of my kind of fears. So basically, there's a lot of information in your DNA that the health insurance companies would love to have. So be aware that if you do those, there's no guarantee that your information is being protected.
So we go back to walking and using cash, and I think we're okay.
Except that there's so many places now that don't take cash.
Yeah.
That's right. I got one more thing that I have recently realized, and that is that the Apple Health app will actually pull and use information from your hospital, your medical portals. For example, here in Brevard, lucky Brevard, we get to either use Part D healthcare or a number of them, or Mission. And of course, nobody wants to trust Mission anymore. But the point is, you give this your login information, or you log in with your Apple ID, and it'll actually collect information from your doctor visit and put it all in one place. It's really, really helpful. And
Yeah, what's the name of it?
it's Apple Health. It's the black.
Health as in H-E-L-T-H,
That's
not
right.
H-E-L-P. Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
And be aware that incoming, it will gather all that information, but outgoing information has to be given permission.
Right.
So if you want to give that information, any information to your doctor, you can, but you have to actually choose to do that.
That's good to know because I've had all sorts of problems with Mayhec trying to get my.
Oh,
Here
yeah.
from Clean My Mac X. It's time to clean your Mac.
What?
Who put that in?
That was Matt.
Of Matt's machine.
Okay.
I have
I apologize. I thought it was somebody else.
We only know
I have a-
because your name came up when it was talking.
That's it then. Oh,
I have
boy.
something that's happened to me recently that I'm not sure exactly why it's happened. Haven't quite figured that out yet. But I started noticing a month or two ago that when I tried to do a spotlight search on my Mac, I wasn't getting any results that I had expected. I was looking for documents that I've accessed before, and when trying to do a search for them, either in the Finder or using Spotlight, I wasn't getting any results. And I a while back, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I was running out of space on my hard drive. When I bought this Mac that I have, it was an open box Mac, so I didn't choose any of the RAM and storage that I probably would have normally chosen. So this only has 256 gigabytes of storage on it, and I fill that pretty quickly. What happens is that it would offload some documents and things like that to manage my space, which was fine. But at a certain point, I installed Clean My Mac to recover some space. And ever since doing that, when I look at if I go to the Finder and I look at my documents, every one of them has a cloud icon, meaning it's sitting in the cloud. So when I do a spotlight search, it's not searching. I'm assuming it's not searching those documents any longer because they're all sitting in the cloud. So it can't search through and find words or phrases or, if it's not in the file name, then I can't get it in the search results. So just as a sort of, I don't know if there's what I need to do in order to resolve that other than, getting a computer with more storage, so that my documents will sit on the hard drive and not, I don't mind if some of the older ones that I don't access go up to the cloud, but I still like to be able to search everything. So
Kevin, I had exactly the same situation. This time I was looking for images.
mhm.
Subaru was going to hopefully give me a new battery. They had a situation where they were killing their batteries. And I had to send them a picture of my visit to the dealer and also show them that I bought a battery. And the way I do that stuff usually, and I take a picture of it and I send it. And the software for Subaru opened up search boxes and nowhere could I find my pictures. And it turned out, again, they're all up in the cloud and they're not sitting on my Mac. So the search didn't work there at all. And what I ended up doing was getting on my iPad, accessing those things, putting them into my documents, which is then shared all around, and then going to my documents folder, which Subaru recognized the documents folder. But I spent a good hour and a half wasting time trying to figure out where the hell are my pictures.
Were they in photos or were they loose?
Photos, there is photos. Yeah, no. So I got on my iPad, got into photos, and then downloaded them, copied them and downloaded them, saved them to files, which to my regular documents file.
when you went in the super app and it opened up the window, did you see on the sidebar the photos section?
No,
Multimedia?
no.
That should be it should be on every sidebar. That should be how.
Part of the problem was the Subaru software. But the main deal was that those pictures really aren't residing on my Mac. And you know, if I had opened up all of this baloney on my iPad instead of the Mac, I wouldn't have had a problem. It's
But,
more than I had mentioned it before. I'm using my iPad more and more for my Mac anyway. So
Yeah, but I've seen any of the apps that open a dialog box. The standard dialog box will have the sidebar. If it has a sidebar, it should be showing the media section.
just said
You may have
browse.
to scroll down to see it.
No, it just had a button for browse, and you hit that, and then it shows certain things. That's
Right,
all I
but the browse button should bring up the standard dialog box. It should have the photos in there. That's
well,
odd.
all I could say is it wasn't going right. Anyway.
Hey, Kevin, let me mention, I use Clean My Mac. I think there's a setting on there that keeps those files from going to the cloud as a way to open up storage. But the other thing I use, I keep two 2 terabyte SSDs attached to my computer, and I got everything directed to them. And Spotlight will find everything on those external SSDs with no problem.
So if I put my if it temporarily until I get a new computer, if I get a external hard drive and put my stuff on there, Spotlight will index that as well,
Yes.
so that I can find my, because it doesn't seem to be indexing the cloud, the iCloud account.
What it should index the cloud stuff that is synchronized to your computer, but yeah, the stuff that's sitting in the cloud, it can probably only get the name for.
Yeah.
No,
but
these are all, I'm sorry, go ahead, Terry.
I just put in the link and a screenshot of how do you add an external drive to your Spotlight search.
Great. Thank you.
It'll help quite a bit because it's not by default. You have to add the drives that you want to include.
I figured that was the case, but I just assumed, and so I didn't know if there was an issue. I assumed that if I had a document on my computer and Apple decided to, move it up to the cloud, because of optimizing my storage space, that when I search for it, I still ought to be able to search those documents. But for some reason, I'm not. Maybe I just need to re-index Spotlight. You think that would help?
It probably wouldn't hurt to try that out.
Okay.
And you know how to do that?
Can you turn off optimization?
Well, I can, but I don't have enough. I only have 256 gigabytes. So my issue is all those documents that I have so the point was that in order to free up space and make my computer, faster, that's what Clean My Mac's, solution was. When it saw how much storage space I was using, it said, oh, well, we can offload these documents to your iCloud account. And when it did that, ever since then, I've not been able to, when I search for a file that I want, I don't get any real good, useful search information in Spotlight or Finder.
You could also try maybe optimizing your files because I use JPEG Mini Pro, and it cuts my photos down to about 80% without any loss in quality.
Yeah, most of these are not photos. Most of these are documents. These are PDFs or, that I use for reference. They're product info sheets on stuff, or it could be anything. It could be a manual from something that I saved. And it's just whenever I type something in, I'm just not getting any good search results. So I'll try indexing Spotlight first, and then I'll see if I can find Ken's suggestion of seeing where Clean My Mac, maybe it has some options in there that allow me to control that.
Or spend $100 and get an SSD.
What was that, George?
Terry's suggestion might also be useful because then less of your stuff would be sent to the cloud of the other documents.
By having an external SSD?
No. If you reduce the size of your JPEG files, that would leave more space for the documents to stay on computer without being a problem.
Right, although I don't have I don't store, I mean, other than using iPhoto, I don't store, um, you know, JPEG file. I just don't have a lot of JPEGs. Most of my stuff is pages, documents, PDF files. The majority is probably PDF files. And when I try to go find something, an article that I had saved as a PDF or whatever, I just can't access them. I can't find that stuff. So, I mean, I have to know where it is, and I roughly know where it is, but it's more convenient just to type in a few words from the document and have it pull up in my search results and pull it up that way.
Hey, Kevin, another way to consider doing that is using tags. I use tags for everything, for my photographs, for my documents, and I also have an old app called Yo Jimbo, like Yo Jimbo, good Southern expression. And it is a fantastic app for these little single stuff that you pull out of a magazine or out of a newspaper or you see on a screen, you stick it in there, put a couple of tags on it, and that thing finds it in a heartbeat. Just saying, but tags works for any file.
Yeah, and I never got into the tags simply because Spotlight was always so good for me. The way I name my files, or just the fact that it'll search inside the content of a file, it's never been an issue. So I've always been able to find exactly what I want. But for whatever reason, I'm just not getting any half decent search results. So
I use a program called PDF Optim
mhm.
to optimize my PDFs. And you can
Okay.
go by and it still keeps all the links. It does a fairly decent job with photos, and it can decrease their sizes quite a bit. You may want to try that too.
Okay.
That'll allow you to get more on your main drive.
Yeah, I mean, certainly when I buy a new computer, I'm not gonna go with a 256 gigabyte hard drive because I've got, a lot of stuff that I'd rather have. But I think the solution, Ken and Terry's solution of having a fast SSD external drive, and then indexing that with Spotlight could be a solution. Because a lot of the files I don't need access to, but right now it's uploading everything to the iCloud account, so that I even the ones that I access frequently, as soon as I access it, when I come back 2 weeks later, it's back up in the cloud again. And I'm only my hard drive's only at half full at this point. So there shouldn't be a reason why it shouldn't be staying on my computer. It's getting uploaded to the cloud every time that uh, so I'm wondering if Clean My Mac is doing that, that there's some setting in there in order to free up space that it's uploading,
Mhm.
you know, uh,
Well, I'm still a big promoter of those NVMe enclosures.
I bought one, but I don't know if I got the wrong thing or whatever, but it heats up so quickly that it just, I was transferring data and it just stopped transferring data. I was getting corruption. Um, so I don't know if I didn't put the heat sink on properly. But I'll hook up with you, Terry, and see if you have some suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah, I keep several of them in my shop because I like I said, I'm a big promoter, and I've gotten a lot of people converted. And if you're using USB-C, I have not seen any lag at all between the internal and the external drives.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have the USB-C, and but like I said, when I was transferring a lot of data, it would just overheat and then stop. It would corrupt the data. So
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard that, but I have not had that problem with, my stuff. And maybe I'm just not pushing it that hard.
mm,
But I've gotten the speed out of it without any problems.
good.
One thing I wanted to point out, a lot of people may not be aware, Ken was talking about the command period, command equal. Whenever you have a menu, if you look, there will be a keyboard shortcut for most functions listed right next to them. A lot of people don't realize that. And so if it's something that you use often, the keyboard shortcut can be much faster than. So like if you look at the edit menu, you have your Command Z for undo, you got your Command X for cut, your Command C for copy, Command V for paste. And so if they're ones that you use often, you can see those shortcuts and start using the keyboard to be a little quicker. So you can always look at the menu to see what the shortcut is for those things.
Yeah, my favorite shortcut using the keyboard, because I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts, is the Command Tab that allows me to switch between apps quickly. And as long as you hold that Command key down and keep tapping the Tab key, it'll rotate through your open apps so I can get to the ones that I want quickly.
Also, if you have that up and the app is like way far at the other end, you can, while holding down the Command key, move the mouse and click on one of them.
Or use the Shift key in combination with the Command and Tab, and that'll go reverse direction. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I've been working on some keynotes programs, and I've been taking the background picture out of the background off of pictures, and I've used my Mac primarily for this because I get more space for it and do work on keynotes, and I didn't know that preview on Mac you could take off the background of a picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I finally found out how to do it, and I think it really works pretty good. Except I find using Canva a lot quicker. But anyway, I didn't know you could take off the background of a picture on a Mac. I know you could do it on iOS, and that's what I used to do, and then give it over to the Mac. But now I could do it on the Mac using Preview.
You also can do it inside programs like Pages and I believe Keynote as well, where you can take the background out. What's called the alpha option. Any other questions? Well, I guess that is it for the meeting this month. Thanks for
Rick
coming,
had a
everybody.
question. Look like Rick was trying to talk, but he's muted.
What's that? Say again?
Rick is muted. He's trying to talk.
Oh,
Rick Thomas.
Rick, press your space bar, Rick.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
We're in the steering committee about my external hard drive backing up a 2022 file, even though the dates are current. And I couldn't find through Google search whether it's a problem with the hard drive or a problem with my computer. So a suggestion is to wipe my hard drive clean, but there's some files there I may want to keep, so I need to look at that first. I was wondering if is there a way to tell if the file being sent from the Mac to the hard drive is the same, or whether the hard drive is not backing up a current drive.
Basically, other than looking at your most recent files on the backup to see if they're there, what you can do is you can restore it, and you'll get the option to keep the original, so you have two copies, and you can compare the two to see if they're the same.
Well, I did look at the last backup, and it's a couple months ago, and it's still back from 2022. And the oldest file I have is from 2020, so I need to look to see if there's any older files I need to keep. Otherwise, I'll wipe the hard drive. But I wasn't sure what the problem is. The problem is a Time Machine, my backup hard drive, not saving a new file, or is the Mac not sending a new file?
It's, I mean, I really can't answer that without more investigation, but I've never seen that happen, so I can't speak to what would be causing it. What you might want to do is, if you have another hard drive available that you can use, don't wipe your old hard drive yet. Set up another hard drive to back up and see if the problem persists. with that.
You know, I've considered buying a new hard drive because I don't have an extra one, but buying a new hard drive and then seeing what happens there. Could do that. My current hard drive is about 75% full. And is it true that if the hard drive gets full, that it erases older files to make room for new files, or not?
Yeah, the time machine will erase older backup files that are no longer on the hard drive.
Okay.
If everything is on the hard drive, you'll get a message that there's not enough room to do backup.
Okay. Yeah, well, my Mac's got a 2 terabyte hard drive, so I'm not worried about anything there. That's fine. One other question. My wife and I both have an iCloud account. We had a joint account at one point, and now we have separate accounts. And I have an Apple charge card. And my wife has an old, when the time we set up both these accounts, my wife had a second Comporium account. Well, Comporium is now only allows us one email account. So her old,
User ID.
right, old email is no longer valid. And how do we change that to her iCloud? Because she's having trouble with her iCloud account. It's not backing up her phone with contacts and other information, although I think she only uses the iCloud. So how do I change that old email to a newer email?
First of all, you don't actually have to if you don't want to, because it's just a label. All you have to do is make sure that the rescue email is a valid email address.
The rescue email?
Yeah, all that ID is just it's an ID. They use an email address because people can remember them easier. But you can keep a defunct email address as your ID. Just make sure you go into the settings of the Apple ID settings and look at your rescue email. Make sure that email is a valid email in case you need to recover your account or reset your password. You can't. I don't know I think they now let you change that email address if you go to appleid.apple.com.
Okay.
And log into your account. You should be able to go in there and change that. But if you don't have another email address to use for that, it's okay if you leave it the same.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I have a question about keychain. If I go into and change a password somewhere, does it automatically update keychain or not?
If you get a message that says, do you want to update keychain, and you say yes, it does. But I have seen times where it doesn't ask, and then I find out that it still has the old email address or the password in there. What you can do is you can go into keychain and manually update that password.
If I update a password in keychain, should I delete the old password?
You don't need to do that. Just edit the existing password and change the entry and change the password for that entry.
Okay.
If you're getting prompted for the keychain to update your password, then there's no need to go in there and do anything. But in the case that George is talking about, if you're not getting prompted, then you'll need to go in and manually update the password in your keychain. And so you can just edit that password. You'd have to delete it and create a new one.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thanks everyone for coming. We will be here next month, same bat time, same bat channel. You guys have a great day.
Thanks, George.
Bye,
So we're
everybody.
gonna have
George.
Bye, everybody.
we're gonna do a quick steering committee thing.
Yeah, let me stop the recording real quick here.